This is the Andu Kedei Show.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the show, of the podcast. So first things first, I have an announcement. Not tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, I want to do an episode called Top 5 Players Who Don't Have a Championship Ring. Active players. Not going to talk about Charles Barkley on past players. Active players who don't have a championship ring yet. Who knows what will happen? This is the next season. But before today, we will do another episode in which I go through basically what happened last night and some other NBA teams. Talk about their last team news, let's say. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So, yesterday we had a lot of games. It was Martin Luther King Day, and this is why on this day they are scheduled a lot of games. So, let's start with what was the first game, like New York Knicks Orlando. And the next one. So they kind of cooled off after that hot beginning. They are now 7th and 8th. They are still a 6th seed with an under 500 record, which is wow. And Obi Toppin is back. He didn't play much. He only had 2 points from an alley-oop, but he's back. Barrett and Randall played unbelievably, and I know it's still early, but man, so far the best rookie on this team is that guy Quickly by far. He's averaging 10 points. He's shooting 34% from the 3-point line, but he also has almost 3 assists, almost 2 rebounds. He's getting like 18 minutes per game, so for 18 minutes these stats are great. And yeah, this is good for the Knicks. It's good that they finally drafted someone that looks unbelievable. I mean, RJ Barrett clearly is their biggest hit in the draft in the last, I don't know how many years. But Emmanuel Quickly is really good. And Orlando, man, they started the season 5-0 or something like that. They were the 1 seed, now they're the 9th seed. I didn't expect their hot streak to last, basically because Jonathan Isaac has not played any single game and he was a big part of the rotation. Now Markelle Fultz got injured. I think they also got 2 or 3. 4 out of their 5-6 best players are injured. And yeah, it's tough. But Nikola Vucevic, man, what a career year for him. He really has. He's averaging 23 points, 11 rebounds. He's playing great. But probably this is due to the fact that he has no team. I mean, most of his team is injured or in health and safety protocols. So that's what happened. Now we had Washington and Cleveland, and the game was cancelled, postponed. But there was a news that Kevin Porter Jr. basically had a scuffle, a dispute with the staff of the team because they gave his locker to Taurean Prince, their new teammate from the Brooklyn Nets. And the news were that now Cleveland is trying to shop him, either trade or waive. Man, that's such bad news because he still is such a talented kid, a lot of potential. This is just his 2nd year, right? Or his 3rd, whatever. And he didn't play so far this season, as far as I know, for personal reasons. So I don't want to get much into it because I know he's having a hard time as a person. So not gonna go into much of that. Let's go to the next game, which was Atlanta, Minnesota. And Atlanta is like Orlando, another team that started really hot, 3-0. They are now 6-7 with a win last night. But the part of me that I don't know if I should be worried or not about the Atlanta Hawks is Trae Young, because he obviously is their best player. His points are down, his assists are, well, I don't know if they're down, but Actually, let's check. So right now he's averaging 8.9. Yeah, they are down. Last season was 9.3. But yeah, not a big difference. His field goal numbers are down, and this is where I'm concerned. He's shooting 27% from free. This is yuck. So this is really bad, 27%, considering that like the league average is 35 or 36, and he had a 7-point game, then a 15-point game, then a 4-point game 3 games ago. I mean, I don't know what's happening. He had a 20-point game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So yeah, he's shooting really worse now. It's true that they made a lot of changes, and not all, but most of the changes they made are now in and out of the rotation. Like Capella is new. He was traded last season, but he didn't play last season. He was in and out of the roster. Then you have Bogdanovic gets injured. Gallinari is injured because he's Gallinari and he always gets injured. Rondo is in and out. John Collins, you don't know what's happening with him. You heard that he's unhappy because there were a lot of trade rumors around him. So I don't know what's wrong exactly with this team, because they had a hot start and I picked them. I picked them to maybe make the playoffs as the 8th seed, as the last team that qualifies basically. DeAndre Hunter, he's balling, man. 40% from the free, 16 points per game with 6 rebounds. He's really balling. And Atlanta is actually a team with a lot of young small forwards or wing players, let's say. Hunter, Werther, Reddish. So yeah, Chris Dunn, I forgot about him. He is in and out of the rotation. He was probably going to be their best defensive player, considering their team. So yeah, bad news for them as their roster is in and out almost all the time, and they don't have a current stable rotation, and guys don't get used to play with one another. While Minnesota, Karl Anthony Towns, I'm praying that he's recovering well. He got the virus, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are now on the last place on the Western Conference. So yeah, I'm still disappointed in Russell. I mean, last night he had a 31-point game, but they lost. And yeah, I expected more from Russell, to be really honest with you. Next game was Portland San Antonio. Man, and I really feel bad for Portland. I mean, they had such a good start of the year, and CJ McCollum was playing so good, and now he's out with some small fracture in his foot, and he will be sidelined for at least 4 weeks. But when you know, and when you see, and when you hear, even if it's a small fracture in your foot, you're probably going to be out for more than 1 month. I mean, he said that he will be reevaluated in 1 month. So there is no timetable for his return. It's such a shame, man, because he was putting on a show. Gary Trent Jr., from what amazing bubble he had, he's still not at that level yet. By the way, guys, he's only 22 years old. He's only 22. And I think most of us basketball fans, because I include myself here, had no idea who he was before the bubble. I honestly had no idea who he was before the bubble. When he blew up, when he exploded. But San Antonio, on the other hand, this team is ridiculous, man. They're on the 5th seed right now. The 5th seed on the West. Bro, the 5th seed? San Antonio? Ahead of Dallas? Ahead of Denver? Ahead of Portland, Golden State. So, yeah, I know it's still early and it's close, but the level that these guys play with and the coaching, for me, is unbelievable. Why? Because any of those guys can literally pop up in every game. So today Aldridge was the leading scorer. Another game DeRozan can be that. Another game Rudy Gay can be. Another game Patty Mills can hit like 8 or 9 threes ahead. It happened a few days ago. He hit 8 or 9 threes and he was the leading scorer. DeJounte Murray, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. So he's really good. Lonnie Walker is shooting 39% from 3. The rookie, Vessel, he's consistent and good. So this team is really, really good. Like their 8th, 9th man rotation is all are quality NBA players. DeRozan is a 5-6 time All-Star? Yeah, he's older now. And his style of play is not necessarily the best you want in today's NBA, but he's really good, man. He's still really good. Aldridge, same. Nobody's stopping him from that mid-range spot. I really am shocked. I thought that this could be the year San Antonio not tanks, because they don't do that, but doesn't pressure as high. Because Aldridge, I don't know, I think about Aldridge that this is the last year on his deal. I know that this is the last year of the DeRozan's deal. So they will be free agents. I don't know if they will resign them. I wouldn't be surprised if they do, because they are the Spurs and they are loyal. And they might give them an offer. It depends now on what they would want. But either way, if those two guys walk, or it will be interesting to see if they will trade them by the deadline. They still have a young core that will develop nicely in DeJounte Murray, in Vassell, Lonnie Walker. Those guys can play, man. So the future in San Antonio is as bright as present as the past, as their entire timeline as a franchise, because it's unbelievable. Let's move to the next game of the night, Memphis Phoenix, and finally, Ja Morant is back. And this was an interesting game because there were let's count them 1, 2, 3, 12 players that scored in double digits from both teams. So it was equally distributing, let's say, scoring performances from both teams. And the Suns lost. But Devin Booker had a really bad game because he only had 12 points, 5 of 21 from the field. So a terrible shooting performance. The Suns now have lost 3 of their last 5. They are 7-5. And I knew that they were going to be a playoff team. And the thing I'm super positive about is that they are still not there yet. Like, D-Book doesn't look like last season Devin Booker still. Like the elite scorer that he is. 12 points last night, as I said. Chris Paul, he doesn't look like that OKC Chris Paul with Shea and Gallo and Steven Adams. His team is better. They have a good record. But they're not there yet. Like, they have not clicked. Their chemistry is not necessarily at 100%. They are still learning how to play with each other. I think this is the perfect way to put it. They are still learning how to play with each other. And this should scare the league. And I don't think they are at 100% right now. Memphis is, as I said, Ja Morant is back. I can't wait to see Jaren Jackson back again. But they are somehow there. They are the 8th seed. They are on a 5-game winning streak. Wow. I didn't know that. This was kind of an under the radar 5-game winning streak. And they beat good teams. They beat Brooklyn, Philly, Phoenix. Wow. Did not know that. I'm impressed. I really am. And 3 or 4 of these games were without Ja. So congratulations to the Memphis Grizzlies, man. They are putting on a show. Then we have Toronto, Dallas, and boy, I don't know what's going on in Dallas, but rough start of the season. They are 6-7. Porzingis came back. Doncic this game had only 15 points. So last game, he had a monstrosity of a triple-double against the Bulls. And he said after the game that they lost because of him, because he was selfish. Now I watched that game entirely. And Porzingis and the rest of the team was a no-show in the first half. And I think it was at halftime when Doncic said that, oh my god, I was so selfish. But bro, he hit it like 5 threes in a row without missing. I would be selfish too if I were that hot. And this game comes up with 11 field goal attempts? Nah, man, it's too little. Only 11 field goal attempts? Josh Richardson was not in the roster. Tim Hardaway was not in the roster. I mean the game against Bulls, because I see that Tim Hardaway played last night against the Raptors, and he had a 0 of 12 shooting night. Yowza. Wow. So that was bad for Tim Hardaway Jr. Meanwhile, the Raptors finally starting to look like a better team. They're on a freaking winning streak. They are not that necessarily far away from that 8th seed right now. Lowry had almost a triple-double. Siakam 19 points. Yeah. And Chris Boucher is really performing. Really performing this season. But I don't know what's happening in Dallas. It will be interesting to see, because I think if they get like one piece, a player like Victor Oladipo, who isn't expiring, maybe the Rockets will trade him, I don't know, to get even more assets for the future. Dallas would be an interesting team next season if they will somehow trade for Oladipo and also sign him in free agency. So I got my eye on that. Now, next match was the match of the night. I don't know. It had a playoff atmosphere, and it was Brooklyn-Milwaukee. So the Brooklyn Nets had a little bit of a struggle when KD was not playing because he was in contract racing protocols. Then Kyrie decided he didn't want it to play. I don't know. He's still out. I don't know when he will play. But they obviously had the huge trade. I talked about that in last episode. And now they have 2 matches with James Harden in which he had 30-something points. And if the Nets somehow finish with the number 1 seed in the East, I think Kevin Durant wins the MVP. And I think that with or without Kyrie Irving, the Brooklyn Nets will win the East. I mean, I picked them with KD and Kyrie. Now that they got Harden, they're too good, Harden and Durant together. Two of the top 5 players. The same situation is in LA, guys. The only difference is that the Brooklyn Nets have a third-star, superstar in Kyrie, and the LA Lakers have the depth. Like have Schroeder, have Harrell. DeAndre Jordan had a really good game, like his best game of the season last night. And that meant a lot. The Nets still have 3 open roster spots. 3 of them. It's going to be interesting in the buyout market, because centers get bought out and centers will want to play for this team to contend for a championship. So keep that in mind. They will find their center. I'm I'm not worried 1% about that. And Kevin Durant right now is making his case for league MVP. He's balling out of his mind. And the chemistry of him and James Harden is unbelievable. I was really thinking the other day, like, bro, so Harden, Durant, and Westbrook played together and made the NBA Finals when they were puppies. And then Harden gave it a shot when they were grown men, again with Westbrook. Didn't work for one season. Now he's playing with Durant. It's unbelievable how the league works right now, because this would have never happened even 10 years ago. On the Bucks side, Giannis had a really good game. Middleton and Drew Holiday. So their trio has played really good this season. Really, really good. Each of them. So this could have very well be an Eastern Conference Finals preview. And I really think it will be, because I think Giannis is tired of losing in the second round or not making the NBA Finals. And what I really want to see is Kyrie Irving play with those two, but I don't have doubts because I think it will work. They're unselfish. Kyrie played with another terrific ball handler, don't forget that, in LeBron James. Kevin Durant can really play off ball and destroy the league with his off ball movement and his shots selection, because all he shoots is nothing but net. But yeah, I don't have any like chemistry issues or something like that. And I think the Milwaukee can really match up like their trio with this trio, because Giannis and Durant will guard each other, and Holiday and Middleton are tall and long and good defenders to make at least a challenge for Kyrie and Harden, because we kind of all know that when you are that elite, you don't necessarily get stopped. You know, I mean, it's not like Middleton will hold Harden to 8 points. But it can make his life much harder. Now, then we had Miami-Detroit. Miami gets the win. Obviously, Detroit last place on the Eastern Conference. Jeremy Grant again with 27 points. 19 shot attempts. Shooting the ball really good. Not good enough, though. And 3 of the Detroit players scored 20 points at least. Jimmy Butler didn't play. Yeah, so really nothing to talk about necessarily about this game. Then we have Chicago-Houston, and boy, do I really want to talk about the Chicago Bulls, because I watched like 3 of their last games entirely, and they look so fun and so good, and I like their roster so much. Like their starting 5. Kobe White is really, really nice, and I really like him. Even though not last night games, 2 games ago, it was against the Dallas, they won. But Kobe White had like, 2 points or something like that, or even 0 points. Yeah. But Zach LaVine is putting on a show this season. He's becoming a scoring extraordinaire, a sniper. He's shooting from the parking lot. He's shooting from the mid-range. He's finishing at the rim. He's really enjoyable to watch. He's really, really, really good. Lauri Markkanen is back at the power forward. Wendell Carton looks better, looks more confident, looks like he knows where his place is. And the rookie, Patrick Williams, man, I really like him. He didn't play last night, but he knows how to play. He shoots the ball really well. He's not afraid. He's guarding Harden. He's guarding Doncic. He's guarding LeBron, Kawhi. He's a big body. And yeah, his defense is not that elite, obviously. He's a rookie. But he's not afraid of the moment, and he's showing up. And this is a good sign. This is what you want to see from these young kids, because he's still 19. But he's really, really good, and I like him so much. And off the bench, Jared Temple, he's a spark plug. Thaddeus Young is really good. Gafford, put him in the center spot and he will hit some 2-3 shots a game and play some defense. So I really like this Chicago Bulls team, and yeah, I have hopes for them that they could sneak into the playoffs maybe. I don't know if they can contend with any of the big teams on the East. I think Boston is better, Milwaukee, Philly, Indiana, Brooklyn. But then, who knows? They're on a 2-game winning streak. They are 6-8. So their record is not the best, but they're really fun to watch. The problem is that they are still really young, and they lost a lot of games because they were inexperienced and afraid and didn't know what to do with the ball. Last night's game was close as well. I mean, Oladipo balled out in his Rockets debut. 32 points, 9 assists. Wood with a 30-piece. John Wall has not been playing for 2 or 3 games, and I don't know why not, honestly. Because I didn't hear any news about him, but hopefully he's okay. But yeah, I'm psyched. I'm excited with this Bulls team. I really am. They're my favorite team to watch right now. Like, you know, when you're watching a game and you don't necessarily root for the team, so you're not that into it and you get upset if the team loses. Yeah, you're watching just to see how splendid Zach LaVine is. And the last game of the night was Lakers, Chicago Bulls, and Lakers, Golden State Warriors, and the Lakers had the Clippers game. They blew a 19-point lead, and I don't know what happened, honestly, because, as I said, they had a 19-point lead. LeBron James played more than he usually did this season, because this season he was career low or not career low, but lower than last season in minutes, in points, in touches, at minutes per possession, and ball in hand time because of Schroeder, basically. But everything, shot attempts. So he was averaging, I think, 30 minutes, and last night he played 37. Not the greatest of games for him. 19, 5 and 5. Kelly Oubre finally balled out, had a 23 performance. He got attacked for blowing a kiss at Montrezl Harrell, which was hilarious. But man, I just want to say that the league is so much better when both Curry and KD, 2 superstars in this league, are healthy. So look, man, the Lakers were leading with 7 points. And then for a 2-minute stretch, the Warriors had a run of 11-0. Wow. Yeah, so this was the story of the night. Anthony Davis, terrific, horrible performance for him as well. Only 17 points, 6 of 16 from the field, and I don't know if I should be worried about AD because he's also playing only 32 minutes. He's also getting less touches, but he's only averaging 21 points, which I don't know if he's a career, probably not a career low, but his lowest in probably like the last 3 or 4 seasons. So I know that the Lakers are not like plugged in and giving their best. They're not bubble Lakers, but they're still leading the West. They still have the best record in the NBA, 11-4. I'm not that worried. I understand their strategy, their technique, because it's clearly that they're not balling out of their minds. And yeah, and this was the games last night. So before we go, I wanted to mention some teams that did not play. Boston. Jaylen Brown is having an all-star season. And the Boston right now are the best team in the East. Yeah, they only have played 12 games because of Jason Tatum contracting. You know what? And he was out for a lot of games, and they got a lot of games postponed. I think 3 of them. Their next game is tomorrow, I think. I don't know if they will play. It's against the Sixers, so it should be interesting. Let's move to the Sixers because, yeah, they also, I don't know what happens here. Embiid, I know that Embiid is having an MVP season, and I don't necessarily like so much how Ben Simmons looked because he had a lot of games where he scored around 10 points, which I think is really low for him, and I think he can do more. You're the third seed right now, but I kind of don't like that from Simmons. He doesn't look that aggressive. Shake Milton is averaging 17 points, which is ridiculous. So this is exciting. Tyrese Maxey, 12 points per game. So yeah, they have a good team, but I expect more from Simmons. Indiana is a nice team, obviously. Sabonis is going to be an all-star. And yeah, I think I talked about all the teams I wanted in the East. Moving to the West, man, Utah Jazz, I mean, I didn't expect that. 5-game winning streak. They're really balling. Jordan Clarkson is like the candidate for 6th man of the year. Maybe even the leading candidate. He's really balling. Didn't expect them from the Utah Jazz. And they beat good teams. Denver, so my question about Denver is, has Jamal Murray decided if he wants to be an all-star or not? Because you watch his bubble performance, not only in that series against the Clippers when he dropped 40 on a game 7, but also against the Utah Jazz, that back and forth duel with Mitchell, hitting clutch shots after clutch shots, step back free, step back mid-ranges, in and out, under the layups. Wow, he was not missing in the bubble. He was on a mission. It looked like he was from cartoons. And the season starts and he's only averaging 20 points. And he had like a 13-point game, and then a 14-point game, and then a 9-point game. Yeah, no, last game against the Jazz, which was close. They lost by... he scored 30, sorry. But he's... in the bubble, his shooting was way up percentage. He was a 50-40-90 guy in the bubble. Right now, he's at 88-52-35. So his 3-point shooting is getting worse. I'm not that concerned necessarily, but he's not there yet, man. He's only averaging like 18 points. And the Nuggets need more. Because Jokic is balling out of his mind. Like, he's averaging a triple-double. Can you imagine if he can sustain that from the rest of the season? Michael Porter Jr. was not playing. I don't know why. He only played 4 games this season. Play ball more, Nuggets. I know he got start, but he needs to finish. But I don't know about the Nuggets. What's going on? Because they and Dallas are so far like the biggest disappointments in the West. The 10th and the 11th seed, similar record, 6 and 7. Dallas on a 3-game losing streak. I don't know what Denver needs because they're not playing good defense, but they didn't were a good defensive team either last season. Michael Porter Jr. needs to come back, man. I know what's going on with him. He needs to play fast. JaMychal Green is contributing more than I expected him to do. 11 points. Will Jamal Murray finally make that leap and be an all-star? They need him to do that. To at least make the playoffs, because right now they're not even making the playoffs or the play-in. Which is kind of weird when you think about their performances, and they're in the bubble. They went to the Western Conference Finals. What are we talking about? So I expect more from the Nuggets team, from this Nuggets team. So guys, I will wrap up the episode here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget that I will drop an episode with top 5 current players without an NBA ring. It's going to be so much fun. I'm going to go to a lot of details and a lot of analyzing. Yeah, it's going to be a different kind of episode. So thank you guys so much for listening. Stay healthy, stay good, and peace.